Hello, everybody, and welcome back to session number 3, chapters. Okay, so the plan is to cover chapters 12 to 18, but when I went back and looked at what happens right after chapter 18, I decided that it would be better if I took us from chapter 12 to chapter 21. So I'll keep my eye on the clock, and this time I'm not gonna spend so much time rehashing chapters 8 through 11, so that we can spend more time in these chapters, because I don't want to drive anybody crazy with my narrative. Okay, so let's jump right into chapter 12, shall we? And see if we can get through these chapters in our 1 hour range. I'm trying to keep everything an hour or less. Alrighty. Okay. Anyway, I'm using Grandma's Bible, and hopefully you've taken some time to read through these chapters on your own. So let's go through it together and see what we find out. Chapter 12. God calls Abram. Okay? That's been his name so far. His name is Abram. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country. And just for those of you who may not have taken a look at the other videos, I read from the King James Version. That is my preferred version of the Bible. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. He didn't say, leave this city and go to this city. He said, get up, pack up, leave, and I'll tell you where you're going while you're on the way there. Verse 2, and I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee. I will make of thee a great nation. I'm not going to give you a big family. I'm not going to give you an extended family. I'm going to make of you a great nation. I stress certain things because you're going to see God fulfill his promises, and you're going to see certain things revisited as you study scripture. I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. I will bless thee. I will make your name great. I will make you a great nation, and you will be a blessing. Think about that. How many of us just catch the first part? Oh, God's going to bless me. Yippee-ki-yay. But you will also be a blessing. Verse 3, and I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. If you get blessed by somebody, I'll bless them. If somebody tries to curse you, I'm cursing them. That's powerful. So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. Now you'll recall that Lot is Abram's nephew. Okay? And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. 75. And Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. And Abram, verse 6, and Abram passed through the land unto the place of Sichem, unto the plain of Moreh. And the Canaanite was then in the land. So it was an occupied land when he got there. And the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, unto thy seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto the Lord. God made him that promise. He built God an altar, who appeared unto him. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram, verse 9, journeyed, going on still toward the south. And there was a famine in the land. And Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. And it came to pass, this Bible is heavy. And it came to pass, when he was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarai his wife, Behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore, it shall come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see you, that they will say, This is his wife. And they will kill me, but they will save your life. They will save thee alive. Why? Because you look so good, girl. Say, I pray thee. So here's what I want you to do. I'm asking you. Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. So I need you to tell them that you're my sister, so that they don't take my life because somebody wants you because you look like you do, Sarai. 14, and it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman, that she was very fair. There's another 4-letter word you can put there. She was very fine. 15, the princess, well, we already talked about not changing the word, but you get my drift. 15, the princes also of Pharaoh saw her and commended her before Pharaoh. Oh, they went and told Pharaoh, Pharaoh, you got to see this woman. Pharaoh, you got to see this woman. With all the women that you've seen, you got to see Sarai. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. Now, hopefully you're taking notes, so I want you to keep track. Abraham asked his wife to say she was his sister because of how good she looked, so that no one would take his life as the husband in order to make her their wife. Okay? This is the first time we're seeing that. All right. 16, and he entreated Abram well for her sake, and he had sheep and oxen, and he asses, and men servants, and maid servants, and she asses, and camels. He was very wealthy. 17, and the Lord plagued Pharaoh. He sent a plague, sickness, disease. He sent a plague, and the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why saidst thou, She is my sister? So I might have taken her to me to wife. Now therefore, behold thy wife. Take her and go your way. Go thy way. Take her and get out of here. Verse 20, and Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away, and his wife, and all that he had. Chapter 13. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south, even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai. I might have said Hay before, Hai. Verse 4, unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. So he returned to the altar and called on the name of the Lord. Number 5, and Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. 6, and the land was not able to bear them. So they had so much abundance. Abram had so much abundance. Lot had so much abundance that the land that they were occupying together was not enough to take on all that abundance. And there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled then in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren. We're brothers. We can. We don't need to fight. And they're not getting along. We need to put a stop to that. Number 9. Is not the whole land before thee? Look around. I mean, we have all this extra space just beyond where we are. Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. Abram said, I don't care which way you do it. Just you pick and I'll take whatever you don't pick. 10. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere. That's important. And I just mean it's important that when you're out seeking land, when you're out deciding where to move, you want to make sure you see where your sources are, where your resources are, so that it's a good place to be. It's a good place to plant yourself. Let me start with 10 again. I stopped in the middle of the sentence. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So it was well watered everywhere. Everything looked plush and beautiful. And this was prior to the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. 11. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan. That's what he decided he wanted. And Lot journeyed east. And they separated themselves, the one from the other. Verse 12. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent towards Sodom. It's probably Sodom. I'm going to say Sodom. 13. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. So know that the things that we do that are not pleasing to the Lord, the things that he has listed clearly, repeatedly in scripture as sin. There's a long list. It's not just what cousin so-and-so is doing. It's what we do. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. So our sins are before the Lord. He sees them. They're in his face. That's a lot of nerve on our part. Anyway, 14. And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, Lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever, all his offspring, every generation, forever. 16. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth. Imagine that. So that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. 17. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. 18. Then Abram removed his tent and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. Chapter 14. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, 2. That these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Bersha, king of Gomorrah. Shinab, king of Admah, and Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. All these were joined together in the vale of Siddim, which is the salt sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. 5. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Ashtaroth Karnaim, and the Zuzims in Ham, and the Emims in Shaveh Kiriathim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir unto Elparan, which is by the wilderness. Verse 7. And they returned and came to Enmishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites that dwelt in Hazazon Tamar. Verse 8. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same as Zoar. And they joined battle with them in the vale of Siddim. Verse 9. With Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings with 5. Verse 10. And the vale of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. 11. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their victuals, in the country they pronounce it victuals, and went their way. 12. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. So he's been taken captive. 13. And there came one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew. Make a note. You're making a note that Abram was Hebrew. For he dwelt in the plain of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, remember he refers to his nephew as his brother. When he heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, but he trained them, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. So that's the first time we see that Abram had to get rowdy. Abram had to let him know. So 15, and he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. Verse 18. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. So this is our first time being introduced to a priest of the Most High God. His name is Melchizedek. At some point, if you continue to follow and study with me, you will experience a prayer that I got from someone who refers to Melchizedek, and it'll all make sense down the line. But just keep this in your notes. First priest, all right? He brought these things to Abram. He was the priest of the Most High God. 19, and he blessed him. Melchizedek blessed Abram and said, "Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, The Most High God is possessor of heaven and earth. Blessed be Abram of the Most High God. You are blessed of the Most High God, and you didn't even have to tell me that. I'm a priest of the Most High God. So guess who revealed that to me? All right. 20, and blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand, and he gave him tithes of all. 21, and the king, notice that's the first time you see a reference to tithes. So when you hear people talking about tithing and talking about it's just an Old Testament thing, yes, we see it in the Old Testament, but study your word. Study your word. God is the same today, yesterday, and forevermore. 21, and the king of Sodom and said unto Abram, give me the persons and take the goods to thyself. Give me the people that you brought back, but you can have all the goods for what you did. 22, and Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord and the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is yours, that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich. He said, I'm not going to take anything, because I take something and then you're going to go around telling people, I made him rich. He said, no thanks. 24, save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men which went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their portion. That's chapter 14. We are in minute 22. Let's keep it moving. Chapter 15. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision. The word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. Fear not, I am your shield and your exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eleazar of Damascus? And Abram said, behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is my heir. Excuse me. 4, and behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, this shall not be your heir, but he that shall come forth out of your own bowels shall be your heir. Now remember, when we met this man, he was how old? 75. And he brought him forth abroad and said, look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, or count the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, so shall thy seed be. This is the second time telling this man. You know how many times we sometimes need to hear something? More than twice. 6, and he believed in the Lord. Oh! And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, verse 7, and he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? How will I know? And he said unto him, take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. Verse 10, and he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another, but the birds divided he not. 11, and when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. 12, And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. That's why that horror fell over him, because this news is not good news. That does not sound pleasant. 14, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. So this is what's going to happen. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to last a long time. But when they come out, they're going to come out with great substance. 15, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. You're going to go to your fathers in peace, which means you're going to die in peace. This is not going to happen to you. It's going to happen to your seed. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. You're going to be buried in a good old age, Abram. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, covenant, an agreement, a contract, an unbreakable agreement between God and Abram. Unto your seed have I given this land. He said that before. From the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. 19. The Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Cadmonites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. Chapter 16. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children. And we heard him talking about that when he had his talk with God. And she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, Look, she said, behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. Listen, the Lord has kept me from conceiving. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go over there into that tent to my handmaid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. Maybe that's it. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarah. Honey, I'm looking at Hagar, and you might be right. I'll do it for you. Verse 3, and Sarah, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian. And Sarah, Abram's wife, Abram is Hebrew, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, which means they consummated the marriage. And she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. Oh, I'm pregnant? What's your name? Sarai? Oh, yeah. That's it. And Sarai said unto Abram, my wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judged between me and thee. So she's putting it on Abram. But Abram said unto Sarai, behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. Do what you want to do with her. Don't put it on me to do something. Whatever you want to do, I'm right behind you. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, Hagar, she fled from her face. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness. So she took off and she ran into the wilderness. And an angel of the Lord found her there by the fountain in the way to Shur. Verse 8. And he said, Hagar, Sarah's maid. You know, these angels know. They know more than you think they know. Hagar, Sarah's maid, whence camest thou? Where are you coming from? And whither wilt thou go? And where are you going? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, return to thy mistress and submit thyself under her hands. That's something she forgot. So the angel said, you need to go back and you need to submit yourself. 10. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. That's the promise he made Abram, and that is his seed. God is a promise keeper. His word will not return to him void. Verse 11, and the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name. Remember we talked about in the previous session that in the Bible, they name their children and they name them based on some kind of experience or some meaning. There's a meaning behind it. And I said, if they're allowed to name them, this is what I meant. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. Okay, verse 12. And he will be a wild man. Just know that up front. He will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. He shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. A wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. Verse 13, and she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her. Thou God seest me. For she said, have I also here looked after him that seeth me? 14, wherefore the well was called Bir Lahai Roy. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. 15, and Hagar bare Abram a son. And Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. And Abram was 60 years old. 60. A score is 20 years. When Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. Chapter 17. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, so he was 99 in chapter 17, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram did what we all should do when the Lord gives us a command. Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram. His name was changed in chapter 17. But thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. Names mean something, y'all. 6, and I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. First time we see reference to kings. Mm, 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 mm. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. Verse 8, and I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, all the land of Canaan, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. Land, property, real estate, land, 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 everlasting. Verse 9, and God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. Keep my covenant. There's something you need to do, and there's something I'm going to do. That's an agreement. Moving on. Verse 10, this is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man, child among you shall be circumcised. Circumcised. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. So I'm going to go back to 10. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child, every male. It's kind of difficult to self-identify when the Bible tells us every man child among you shall be circumcised. The foreskin shall be circumcised. That helps you to understand male versus female. That's one indicator, okay? It shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. 12. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations. He that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed, shall be circumcised at 8 days old. 13. Where am I? Flesh for another. Okay. He that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. My covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant, because it's a flesh covenant. 15, and God said unto Abraham, as for Sarai, thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. 16, and I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yes, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old, and shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? 18, and Abraham said unto God, now remember, he said this in his mind, the laughter and all that was here. That was here. Out loud he said, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget. Princes. Kings. He already talked about kings. From Isaac. He said, but I have something for Ishmael, because he is your seed, and I keep my word. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. I will make him a great nation. I will make him a great nation. But my covenant, verse 21, will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. This set time in the next year. Today is November 30th, 2020. At this set time in the next year, 2021, winter. You get it? Okay. Oh, I don't want to say I or she will give birth, but you get my point. I'm not doing that. 22, and he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. 23, and Abraham took Ishmael his son and all that were born in his house. Immediately, he was obedient. This is what God already told me to do. I'm not going to go somewhere and go for a walk. I'm not going to throw a party. I'm not going to go dig a ditch or dig a well, or I'm going to go and begin this process. He took his son Ishmael and all that were born in his house and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the selfsame day, as God had said unto him. Obedience. No delay, no hesitation, no doubting, no second guessing. Obedience. And I'm talking to me too, y'all. "24, and Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Whew. In the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son. And all the men of his house, born in the house and bought with money of the stranger, were circumcised with him." And I found a note that I had written some time ago. I don't know when I wrote this, but I wanted to read it to you. And then we'll go to chapter 18. We're making good time. Up to age 99, Abram was sleeping with Sarai, and she conceived not. My light's changing when I move. And she conceived not. The uncircumcised 86-year-old Abram slept with Hagar, and she conceived Ishmael, who would beget princes. Excuse me. After God introduced the 99-year-old circumcised Abraham to the 90-year-old Sarah, she will conceive and bear him the promised Isaac. Excuse me. That's powerful, y'all. It's powerful. All right, let's go to 18. What did I say I wanted to get to? 21? Ooh, I thought we were making good time. Let me hurry up. Chapter 18. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts, After that ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, so do as thou hast said. Hospitality. They didn't have to come and ask. He saw them and said, I pray thee come and let me just refresh you before you continue on your journey. Verse 6, and Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah and said, make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran unto the herd and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. He stood by them while they sat and ate. Hospitality. And they said unto him, where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Sarah heard it. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Eggs, ovaries, menstruation, all that was done. Menopause, done. So she's hearing this, and I already have Ishmael. I know it's not going to come through me. I'm all done. 12, therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure? My Lord being old also. And the Lord said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Why did she laugh? Is anything too hard for the Lord? Is anything too hard for the Lord? Why did Sarah laugh, saying what she said? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed, I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, I didn't laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, nay, but you did laugh. And the men rose up from thence and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? Should I hide what I'm about to do? I'm about to do something. That's why I'm headed towards Sodom and Gomorrah. Should I hide it from Abraham? Considering he's about to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord. I know that I can count on him to do these things and to do justice and judgment. I can count on him, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. I know I can give him what I promised. I know I can bless him the way that I promised that I will bless him. I know that I can be confident that he will do what he's supposed to do. He will do justice. He will do judgment. 20, and the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it. I need to go see. Is it really as bad as it sounds? Is it really as bad as the cry that I'm hearing that's reaching heaven? Let me go down here and check this out for myself. Think about 2020. Because their sin is very grievous. 21, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence and went toward Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord. And Abraham drew near and said, wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? What if you find 50 that are righteous? Are you going to destroy the whole city? If you find 50, you can't destroy the whole. Just 50? Can you spare them if you find 50? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. That'd be far from you, Lord. You wouldn't do something like that. That's just not like you at all. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? You're the judge of all the earth. Surely you'll do right if you find 50. If you have righteous mixed up in there with the wicked. 26, and the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. I'll spare the whole city. 27, and Abraham answered and said, behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. I'm just dust and ashes, and I'm taking it upon myself to speak to you, Lord. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for lack of 5? I mean, if you find 45 and not 50. And he said, if I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. 29, and he spake unto him yet again and said, peradventure there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. Mercy, mercy, mercy. And he said, behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. That's 18. Again? Okay, I'm going to stop at 19. Okay? I'm going to stop at the end of 19. All right. And you can always read on. That's a beautiful thing. If you do read on, that would be fantabulous. Chapter 19. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even. That's in the evening. This is light changing. Okay. And Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground, hospitality. And he said, behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. And they said, nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him and entered into his house. And he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. Unleavened bread. We make bread now with self-rising flour, that yeast that causes it to rise. Unleavened bread is bread that is not made with yeast. But before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom and Gomorrah, even the men of, but before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, surrounded the house, both old and young, men surrounded the house. All the people from every quarter, all the people surrounded the house, all the men. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. Now, we've seen know before. We know that they're talking about sexual sin. In this case, they're talking about rape. They're talking about assault. And Lot went out at the door unto them and shut the door after him, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold now, I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Remember that. Make a note of that. I'm not, pause the video and make a note of that. He has 2 daughters who have not known man. They have not been with anyone. They are virgins. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Do whatever you want to them. Only unto these men do nothing. For therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. They came here for some rest and peace and comfort, safety. That's why I bade them to come inside. And they said, the men said, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. This guy came in as a traveler, made this place his home, and now he thinks he's somebody's judge. We've seen that before. We see that so much now. Don't judge me. Y'all are always judging. The word judge is just flying around because we don't want to call it what it is. What they were doing was wrong. That request was disgusting, wicked, and wrong. And he called them on it, and they called it judging. Now will we deal, this is verse 10, now will we deal worse with you than with the men that came into your house to be guests. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. So now they're just saying, we're going to just get you, get them, knock the door in, do what we want to do. We're going to have our way. Since you decide you want to come out here and be judged, you should just sent them out here so that we could know them. Now, when they did that, when they started pressing up against Lot, the men inside put forth their hand, reached out, and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut to the door. Verse 11, and they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said unto Lot, hast thou here any besides? Is there anybody else here besides you? Son-in-law and thy sons and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxen great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. So you need to get your stuff, get your people, get out of here, and do it quickly. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law. Why am I pausing? Because Lot has sons-in-law, one for each of his 2 daughters, but they're virgins. He had to go out and find them. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. They thought he was a kook. And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot. They rushed him, saying, arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, he's certainly not like his uncle. God said, Abram, do this. Abram was like, right away. Lot, destroy the city, huh? Okay. I'm just going to fold this laundry real quick. Shuck this corn. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth and set him without the city. So external. They grabbed all of them because they were just sitting there like, do you not understand what's about to happen? So they grabbed them because of the mercy of the Lord. They could have just said, we told y'all to get out. Bye. Bye, Felicia. But he grabbed them by the hand. They grabbed them by their hands and they pulled them out to the outside of the city to safety. Okay. Forgive me. I should have kept my finger on my verse. And upon the hand of 2 daughters and Lord and out the city. 17. And it came to pass when they had brought them forth abroad that he said, escape for thy life. Look not behind thee. Once you get free, once you get out, once you are in the place of safety, once you are no longer in that place of destruction and calamity, once you're out of harm's way, it reminds me of B.B. Winans' song, there should be no looking back. So he says here, escape for thy life. Run for your life. This is where we got that from. Run for your life. Run for your life. Do not look back. Neither stay thou in all the plain. Don't even, this is the plain. You need to get up. Don't stay in the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. This what's about to happen is no joke. You can get consumed. Don't be anywhere near it. And Lot said unto them, oh, not so, my Lord. Behold now, thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me, and I die. It's kind of high up there. Do I have to go to the mountain? Ooh, I'm at an hour. Behold now, this city is near to flee unto. There's a city not far, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. And he said unto him, see, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city, for the which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou be come hit thither. Therefore, the name of the city was called Zoar. So initially, that city would have also been consumed. But he said, I'm going to spare that particular little bitty city over there, and you can go there since you don't want to go to the mountain. Therefore, the name of the city was called Zoar. 23, the sun was risen, upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. So by the time he had made it to Zoar, the sun was rising. Wow. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. Fire and brimstone and fire. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities. And that which grew upon the ground, everything. What grew on the ground, the city, everything. But his wife looked back from behind him. So she was trailing behind him, and she looked back. And she became a pillar of salt. So, yeah, her body, whatever she looked like, that it became a pillar shaped the same way of salt. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar, verse 30, and dwelt in the mountain. Okay, so apparently he got his rest in Zoar and still had to sojourn up to the mountain. So, I mean, if it took him that long to get there until the sun was rising the next morning, you can imagine he knew he wasn't going to make it to the mountain. Had he left when he was told, he probably would have made it to the mountain. I had to stop taking my finger off the scriptures. And it came to pass when God destroyed the cities of the plain that God remembered Abraham. And Lot went up to out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his two daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his two daughters. So it's just him and his two daughters now, the two virgin daughters, because their husbands refused to leave, and they spent a lot of time elsewhere. 31, and the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. There's nobody to get us pregnant. He is the only man. And in order to preserve his seed, so that there are generations after Lot, we must get him drunk with wine and lay with our father so that we can become pregnant, unbeknownst to him. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not she lay down, nor when she, he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. He had no idea. 34, and it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in, and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. 35, and they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. They were both pregnant at the same time by their father. And the firstborn bare a son and called his name Moab. Write that down. You're going to see Moabites mentioned quite a bit. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. 38, and the younger, she also bare a son and called his name Ben-Ami. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. That is all of chapter 19. Congratulations, we just made it through and up to chapter 20. Feel free to read those chapters over again, or to pick up at 20 and read on. We were going to go from 19 to 24, but we stopped at 19. So I believe 24 will be a good stopping point. If that changes, I'll let you know at the beginning of the next session. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next time. If not in a week, it'll be a little bit less than a week, because we need to really get past Genesis and go into Exodus, and then move around the Old and the New Testament, so we can deal with some things more in-depthly regarding what's happening in our world today, and how Scripture is applicable and necessary. All right, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification button, add your comments, your questions, and as always, keep everything kind, respectful, and remember that you never know what other people are going through. So we want to be a light to somebody else. We want to be support to other people. And we want to do what is pleasing in the eyes of God. All right, till next time, take care. And don't forget to say your prayer, before you go into your Bible study. And, later on we'll talk about different prayers. And we'll start, of course, with Jesus's answer when his disciples in the New Testament asked him to teach them how to pray, teach them to pray. And he said, when you pray, say, and he told them what to say. So it's important that we understand how to pray, or to pray, teach us to pray. So anyway, take care. I'll see you back here, and pray without ceasing. Bye.